Welcome back, everyone. We are going to continue on and start investigating the crime scene. Let's look down here.
That's Kazuma-sama's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it.
Yes, he was always saying that a Japanese man's katana is his soul.
I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip.
I suppose that shows just how important it was to him.
And now
And now he's gone. But I'm not ready to let his spirit go just yet.
Oh dear, that won't do.
Oh, what's the matter, Susato-san?
Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused I forget to look around properly.
Ah, yes, that's not good.
I don't suppose you're as foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san? I'm sure you're careful to look all around using the D-pad, aren't you? Now, let's investigate all corners of this cabin.
Yes, let's do that. I suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. We're gonna look at that thing. That's my dinner from last night, a roast chicken. It was really tasty.
Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But, did you eat it on the floor here?
I'm not a dog, Susato-san. I ate it on the table, of course. Which begs the question of when and how the plate ended up on the floor.
But Kasano-sama didn't like chicken at all, did he?
No, that's right. So he didn't touch it. Which meant all the more for me.
Oh no, does that mean poor Kasano-sama spent his last night on Earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible.
Ugh, now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach.
There's nothing on this table at all. The plate and the cutlery are all over the floor for some reason.
Yes, it's strange. Last night when I went to sleep, I'm sure everything was still... No, wait a minute.
What is it?
That's funny. I can't seem to remember anything about what happened after the dinner at all.
So then perhaps you are responsible for what happened to Kasama-sama.
No. Sige. Or Sigi? Sege? Sigi? I don't know. The Japanese word for justice. The brush strokes are straight and true, just like Kazuma's.
Yes, his calligraphy always was a reflection of his heart. Yet can you really look at those characters without feeling shame, knowing who drew them so thoughtfully?
Of course I can. I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to?
Even though you stowed away on the ship?
Now you're going to bring that up, are you? I can't win. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Bureau. Yeah. It's essentially a list of
requests from the captain to all passengers on board.
Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in the cabins. Pets are also strictly prohibited or forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me?
Oh, sorry, I was just thinking, are you more of a dangerous object or a pet? I can't decide.
Well, one thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. The books have fallen over on the shelf. Look, they've all toppled the same way.
And what's this? A statue of some god of the sea? Though he's fallen over as well.
Yes, it's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked and everything mown down at once.
I wonder if perhaps it was Kazuma-sama doing his morning sword training, do you think?
I seriously doubt it.
Then perhaps it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage.
I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and the statue. Could the way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case, I wonder?
Well, I'll just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess.
Let's see.
When I went for help and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt has been firmly closed.
It's quite a small bolt and not particularly sturdy, and it just slides across the secure door shut. But still, with the door bolted, there'd be no way to get in or out of the cabin, that's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. When she glares at me like that, I feel tense all up and down my spine. I remember reading once in a detective novel, the culprit used a needle and thread to draw a bolt across from outside the room in a situation like this.
Yes, that's a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself, but the door of this cabin and its frame are made of metal, and they seal together perfectly. There'd be no possibility of using that needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid.
When she glares at me like that, I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. What do you think this is? It looks like a broken piece of glassware. Whatever the thing it was, it appears they're broken clean in two.
The glass is such a beautiful color. It looks like a cute little Netsuke fastener from a kimono outfit.
I'm not sure that sounds like a Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like this around with him, would he?
And the mark beside it, what is it, I wonder? It has a sort of brick-like hue. It kind of looks like what that Russian man over there looks when he turns around. Kind of like a skid mark, don't you think?
Yes, you're right. It is the color of a skid mark, isn't it? Even though I don't see or smell of the same color anywhere else in the cabin. Interesting. Perhaps I should see what this Russian crewman makes of the scene of the crime. Excuse me. What? I was wondering how's it going? The investigation, I mean. Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes, but it is not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal is asking the investigator for information about his crime. Very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke.
He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty.
He might have useful information though. So, last night, did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Yet, of course not. Now go back to corner of room and make silent. I say no more to you. Did I hit a nerve? Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered. Interesting.
That's a very large traveling case, isn't it?
Yes, it carries a lot of memories for me.
Memories? What do you mean?
Well, that's actually how I stowed away on this vessel. I was brought on board inside that case.
Ah, yes, I see. It says this way up in Japanese.
Which in hindsight, I should have realized the foreign crewman wouldn't be able to read. I was turned over and over and over, and then I was tossed on the floor in here.
Oh dear, being a stowaway isn't as romantic as it sounds.
Well, it was less painful than a Susato takedown. Well, let me do that one. Okay. Did Kazuma write that before he died? It looks like it's written in ink.
He must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Then I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in this village. Poor Kazuma-sama. No doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine it.
I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of a clue in his final moments, was he? I'm sorry, partner, but I can't read your message.
I don't think that's Japanese, Naruhodo-san.
What? Then what language is it?
It pains me to admit it, but I don't know.
It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. What does it mean, I wonder? Well, we're gonna go over here now.
This is, yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think.
What do you mean, contraption?
I read about it in a book I was studying. They talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants.
Really? That sounds almost magical.
Shall we give it a little try? Yes, in the interest of cultural research, obviously. I suppose nobody comes for lowly Japanese people.
No, I'm sure it's just that everyone is busy is all.
I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator, a hole through which fresh air can circulate into the cabin.
Isn't that a little odd?
What do you mean?
Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is, it looks like it must connect to the next door cabin.
Yes, it would appear to. You're right.
But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it should be connected to the outside.
That's true. Perhaps it's so that the rain and spray don't find their way in when the seas are rough, or something like that.
I suppose. Maybe that's it.
It's 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruhodo-san?
I think living isn't quite the right description.
Oh, no, I suppose not. Although it must have been rather exciting making this voyage in your own secret hideout.
The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe, and last night was no exception.
But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin.
No, sadly not.
This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat when he was writing.
London Diary. Poor Kazuma. He didn't even finish his diary, or last thing I guess. It looks
as though the last entry is incomplete.
Which means, what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. It could be a valuable clue.
Hey, yeah! That's out of the question.
What?
Kazuma-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts.
But what if it's something important? Something relevant to the case? Alright, I won't read it. Okay, jeez.
Poor Kazuma-sama.
I don't like prying into people's personal matters either, but in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Right? Oh. Who's that? He wasn't there a minute ago. As far as I can tell, it looks like he might be European.
Oh, how did he...
You've noticed the man too, haven't you? I've no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious and tall. Suspiciously tall.
No. Hodo-san, don't tell me. Do you really not know who that is?
Well, no. I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. He doesn't look like a member of the crew. There's something very unusual about him. And is he investigating Kazuma's desk or is he playing on it? I can't tell.
Well, in any case, we simply must talk with him.
Am I just imagining it, or does Susato-san almost look uncontrollably excited?
By the way, I expect that you've done this already, but just in case. If you press X on people when they're in the crosshairs, you can converse with them. Alright then, I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself.
Oh, that was the wrong voice. Oh, okay, I'll get the suspiciously tall man in my sights and see what he says for himself.
Oh, please do.
There we go. Excuse me. Excuse me, do you have a moment? Shh, this is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly.
Yes, perhaps that would be for the best.
Greetings! I hope I haven't... Oh.
Ah!
What exactly were you doing on Kazuma's desk just now? Ah, I see. Fascinating. Sorry? What do you see? It feels like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? And now, whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well, that's true at least.
But how?
How the deuce did I know that, perhaps? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining.
Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else?
But of course, a great many things. There is no mystery, my dear madam. For example, you have fled your native land of Russia, being, as you are, a merciless revolutionary. You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake and now travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. And when the bedridden occupant or be-ribboned occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts beautifully. No need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. Just to be clear, you are talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? I don't even see one person who fits the bill.
So it's true. It was you who did this to Kazuma-sama.
What?
And you're plotting a revolution too. It's shameful behavior, Naruhodo-san. Absolutely wicked.
No, listen, there's no way
Ahiya!
This girl, if she don't calm down...
Now explain yourself. Tell me everything.
This is ridiculous.
How could you do it?
For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary, obviously.
Oh, forgive me.
And as for you, what kind of deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came into your head. Ah, but was I not right? Whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you do find yourself in the most troubling predicament, do you not? Well, yes, maybe. Ha! There you have it. You see, what do you make of that, hmm? Well, to be honest, this ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. So, I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, and observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles, you see. I announce my findings with a brassy certitude, and more often than not, I'm right. Ha! I don't think you've introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I am none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to the men and women around the world over. The inimitable Herlock Sholmes.
So, it's really you, the actual Sherlock Holmes, Herlock Sholmes.
The very same, the imitable, actual Herlock Sholmes. Do you know this man, Susato-san?
The most famous detective in the world, Naruhodo-san. Of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of him.
What planet have I been living on then?
We must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure.
Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? Converse. Great detective. So, you're a great detective, are you? Sorry, what was your name again? Indeed, I am none other than the one and only Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I see, you're German. Herlock, was it? No, I have no hair. I mean, I have hair. Please call me Sholmes. You can read all about my exploits in the exciting London publication.
Oh yes, Rand's magazine, full of wonderful short stories and interesting articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England especially.
Ah, yes, here it is. The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories then? Indeed I am. And you've read so many of your own stories you've started to think you really are a detective? Make no mistake. I'm not the poor, deluded fellow you take me for. Your inference is backward. Backward? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. You have a biographer? Do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. Dr. Wilson? I must say, thanks to that publication, I've been fantastically busy of late. Why, this very moment I returned from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? I can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, to me is a science, logical reasoning in its purest form.
A science? Really?
The astute observer notices even the most subtle of reactions in a subject. A furtive glance, a twitch of muscle, a slight inclination of posture, fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows of the skin, all of these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from the data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can he look me in the eye and claim that? So you see, I have a turn both for observation and deduction, and fame. That is what makes me the one and only Herlock Sholmes. Cosmo's death. Let's get on. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything, my dear fellow? Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place? That's right. It was none other than the great detective before you now, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Ah, I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him.
When I became anxious about Kazuma-sama this morning, I summoned all the crew members to force the cabin door open.
And I concealed myself among their numbers, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes, luckily for everyone, the great Detective Herlock Sholmes was on board, and the handcuffs seemed to be an excellent fit, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah. The very moment I laid eyes on the scene, two facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh really? Two facts, you say? Two facts. Mr. Sholmes, tell us, please, what two facts were apparent to you when you came into this cabin this morning? Ah, yes, but first, let us be precise. The two facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand, but, what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The two facts that I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number one, the cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. Number two, the victim was Russian and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Hold on, Mr. Sholmes, what made you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying messes left by the victim on the floor. That is the Russian word for wardrobe. Do
you really think Kazuma-sama could have left the dying message in Russian?
In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. Kazuma was Russian, was he? Initially, I considered Gardrob may be the name of the killer, a certain Robert Gardet, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe there at least, where you found Mr.
Naruhodo sleeping soundly.
Quite so. I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people.
Or school uniforms are the traditional dress of the Russian people? I had no idea.
And I had no idea the detective could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim in the message that I might analyze it for possible hidden details. This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, Cosmo has always been taken away when I woke up. This is the first time I actually seen him like this.
Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, yes, thank you. The photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. Can I ask you something, Mr. Sholmes? What, pray? You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia and all that. Ah, yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Certainly, if it interests you. How many times? I'm not Russian, and I don't speak Russian. Your deduction just now. Can we talk about your deduction before? The things you concluded about me, I mean? Ah, the now famously accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in. Actually, it was the other details that I was more hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and assassin of 16 part? Ah, yes, the more sordid details. It was fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary Violent Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night the young Russian was murdered. Since when was Cosmo a Russian?
It sounds like Mr. Sholmes has concluded he was a Russian because of what Cosmo somehow wrote on the floor.
It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary. One who would kill the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you, Violent Bolshevik. No, how could it be me? I don't look anything like this man, just look at his face. Well, you are a fearsome revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learnt to revolutionize your appearance as well. Please. And, I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway.
What about the other details? The 16 victims of assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower.
Ah, yes, the journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all over the particulars in the article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far, and those he is plotting. Yes, everything about this revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There could be no mistake.
Do revolutionaries agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder?
And what about the part where you said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik is recently returning after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it, anyway? This Afghanistan place. Here, take this paper for yourself, as a little memento of the great deduction. Oh, thank you. I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. The article about the revolutionary has been entered in the court record. Alright, and right there I'm gonna end that episode. If you enjoyed it, I hope you I hope you enjoyed it actually. Feel free to leave a like and all that. Share, comment, all that. It just helps me out with the algorithm and whatnot. And until next time.